Hello and welcome to Mastering Microsoft Excel video series. This is video number 11 where we're going to talk about summarization functions. In this video, we'll talk about formulas like sum, average, max, min, count, and we will also deal with the formula like SUMIF, SUMIFS, AVERAGEIF, COUNTIF, COUNTIFs, MAXIFS, MINIFS. All these functions basically will help you to summarize a huge data kind of category wise. What is the total category wise? What's the average category wise? What's the highest, lowest? All those kind of analysis can be done through these formulas. So without much ado, let's get into the Excel screen and let's see with the practical example how these formulas are very vital while you want to summarize the data in business world. So now this is the data which we're going to use for this particular video. You could see that this is a data contains details on territory, product category, salesperson, sale date on which a particular sale has happened, how many units we have supplied, and what's the bill amount. So let's say, for example, I could also remove these columns, which will help us to avoid the distractions here. So first, let's talk about the overall summarization. How do I bring it out from a data? So let's say the numbers we are dealing with this data is units supplied and the bill amount. So when we talk about summarization, the 5 areas which we normally deal when it comes to summarization is nothing but what's the total performance, what's the average, what's the highest, what's the lowest, and what's the number of times a particular product has been sold, or the number of times a particular incidents have been repeated. So the count basically. So let's find out the formulas which will give you the overall picture, and then let's talk about the formula which will give you a category wise picture. Then we will talk about the formulas which can deal with 2 perspective summarizations also, 2 or 3 perspectives also. So let's talk about overall summarization here. So I want to find out the total of the bill amount. So the formula which will help me to achieve it is equal to sum. Let me zoom it so it can help you. Equal to sum, and I want to select my entire bill amount. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the first value of the bill amount, control shift down arrow, close the braces, hit the enter, and that's going to give me the total bill amount. So all we are talking about is the bill amount. So you can consider, you can relate it to any data which you manage in your department, which is a crucial data. For example, for sales it is sales, for finance it might be revenue or the cost. Okay, so take the relevant numbers and relate these learnings to your numbers as well. So how do I find out the average? So the formula which will help us to find out the average is average, and click on the first value, control shift down arrow, close the braces, hit the enter. That's the average bill amount. So all I'm trying to find out here is the overall picture from the entire data. So I want to find out what's the highest bill amount we have done so far. So the formula which will help me to achieve it is max. So I'm going to select the first value again, control shift down, enter, and that's the highest bill amount we have done so far. And what's the least bill amount? So the formula is min. Again, select the first value, control shift down, enter, and that's going to give me the least bill amount we have done in this data set. And how many transactions we have in this. When I say how many transactions, each line in the data refers to an order. So I want to know how many total orders we have. So for that, I'm going to use count, click on the first value, control shift down, enter, and that's going to tell me there is 999 transactions we have. So this is related to the bill amount which we are dealing with, and we have seen this is the overall picture when it comes to the bill amount. Okay, what's the total, what's the average, what's the highest, what's the least, and the number of transaction we have. So since this is a monetary value, I'm going to put this into a proper currency format by using control shift and 4, and you could see the values have come in with the respective currencies. Okay, my system has been set for the Indian currency settings, and that's why you see these kind of, but in case if you have you are from US, then you might see dollar. It depends on the country from where you're watching and where you're trying it. So now we have understood the overall summarization. How do you bring it? Yeah. So now let's talk about category wise summarization. So now this time I would love to see all these things, these bill amounts, total bill amount, average bill amount, maximum bill amount, minimum bill amount, the number of transactions, but not on the overall, but for every salesperson wise. Okay, every salesperson wise. So what's the total sales done by salesperson 1? What's the average sales done by salesperson 1? So likewise for the rest. So how do I calculate this one? So remember that because you have a criteria right now, because you don't need for entire thing, you need it for the particular salesperson. Whenever the criteria comes in, so definitely you need to bring in the if inside. So total we are doing for total, it's the formula is sum, and we have condition which is if. So when you put together, that is going to be the formula which is sum if. So let's go ahead and see how we manage this requirement. It takes 3 input because it's not overall, it's particular category wise. So it is asking you 3 inputs. The first input it's asking you, the range is nothing but what is the column or which is the column you want me to go and search for this salesperson 1, the column in which I have to check my criteria. So salespersons are available in salesperson column. So I'm going to click on the first salesperson name in the salesperson column, control shift down arrow. Okay, we have selected the first input, comma, then let's talk about the second input, criteria. So what is meant by criteria? So in this selected column, what is the criteria you want me to go and check? What is the criteria I want to go and check here in the salesperson column? I want you to go and check this salesperson because I need that guy's total, right? It has to go to the salesperson column and search for salesperson 1, comma. The last input is nothing but sum range. Okay, it's asking which is the column you want to sum it up for the salesperson 1. I want to sum up the bill amount column. So I'm going to click on the first bill amount, control shift down, and that will complete the selection. So close the braces and it's going to give us the total for the particular salesperson. Okay, so this is a total for that particular salesperson. Now let's try to rewrite this formula to get a better understanding. Equal to sum if, open bracket. So let me give you much more clarity. Whenever you see the word range, it means it is asking you for a set of cells or for a column or for a row. It depends on what type of data structure you're working. Suppose if you're working on a horizontal table, then you might be selecting a row. So range refers to row. It's because we are working on a vertical table, the word range refers to column. So here, whenever you see the word range, remember you have to feed the column. The only confusion is which column I have to feed for which input. The first input range is always stands for the column where you have to check your criteria, check your condition. So the condition is on the salesperson. So you have to select the salesperson column. It's always better you skip the header because header is not part of your selection. So click on the first value, control shift down arrow. Then I'm going to come back, comma. Then the second input is criteria. So in this salesperson column, I want to check for this salesperson, comma. Once you found it, take the relevant column values of bill amount. So sum range is nothing but which column to be summed up. So select that, close the bracket, hit the enter, and that's the total for that particular person. Now, because I want to do this for rest of the salesperson, I don't want to sit and write another 8 formulas. Instead, I'm going to make these cell reference as an absolute reference, which we learned during the video number 4. So I'm going to press F4 to make it constant, so that when I drag it, these cell reference will not change. Whereas the H6, which refers to the criteria, salesperson 1, that should change when I drag the formula. So only then it will take the next salesperson for the calculation. So I'm going to go ahead and double click and it's going to give me the total for every person. Control shift and 4 to put that into proper new currency format. And that is the total for that particular person. So remember, criteria based total, when you want to do it, the formula is sum if. Criteria based average, it is going to be average if. So let's go ahead and do that. Average if. Again, the word range refers to the column where you have to check the conditions. I'm going to select that, comma. Then the next input, what's the criteria you want me to go and select, search in that column. This is the criteria. Once I found it, which relevant or related column numbers you want to take average, I want to take the related bill amount values to be average. So select that column, close the braces, hit the enter, and that's the average. In case if you want to drag this formula, make sure the references are properly fixed based on the way you're going to drag the formula. And I want to make that constant or absolute reference, and I'm going to double click. I'm going to put them into proper format, and that completes our work. Likewise, I want to know how many transactions has been registered under the salesperson one. So how many? So the formula is going to be COUNTIF, but this time closely watch it. You got only the range and the criteria. So the column where you have to check the condition, which is salesperson column, comma, the criteria is nothing but the salesperson name, just like we did for the SUMIF and the AVERAGEIF. So we have selected that also, but what is not there is like average range or some range will not be there, because all I have to find out the number of times the salesperson one name is coming under the salesperson column. That automatically in turn gives you the number of transactions registered for that particular person. Again, because we're gonna drag this formula, I want to select those cell references to make it absolute, and close the braces and hit enter, and that's the total. I'm going to double click to populate for the next rest of salesperson. We got it. What about the max and min? So like SUMIF, COUNTIF. So the formulas we have seen is like SUMIF, SUMIF, and we have seen AVERAGEIF, we have seen COUNTIF. But what is not there is you don't have MAXIF and MINIF in Excel. Let me show you that. Even if I go here and type equal to max, I have MAXIFS, but I do not have MAXIF. So we don't have this formula, but in case if you want to do it, you can take the help from MAXIFS. But before we go for MAXIFS, you guys have to understand there are functions like SUMIFS, okay, AVERAGEIFS, then COUNTIFS. So you do have functions like that as well, okay. So when do I use that kind of functions? Okay, first of all, you need to understand where I would require ifs and where I would require if. So this example, what we did, our summarization was based on just the salesperson. So the criteria was just only one, which is only on the salesperson. Whereas if you take the next structure, we want to know what is the total sales done by the salesperson one for the product chips. Likewise, I would love to see it average sales of the salesperson for the product ice creams. What is the maximum sales done by the salesperson one for juices? What's the minimum done for the chocolates? And what's the number of transactions done for a particular product? So I can go ahead and do this. Now this time it's not one criteria, it's two criteria. So whenever you go beyond one conditions, remember the formulas will become plural. SUMIFS, AVERAGEIFS, MAXIFS, MINIFS, COUNTIFS. So whenever you are doing more than one condition based summarizations, these formulas will come into picture. But remember, all these ifs can handle one condition as well as multiple conditions. They are capable of doing it. So if you ask me honestly, is it important to know about SUMIF before learning SUMIFs? Definitely no. You can directly learn the SUMIFs so that you have the competitive edge over that. You don't need to remember the SUMIF. You can still handle the single or multiple through the same formula itself. So let's go ahead and see how this formula has to be written. So equal to SUMIFS. This is going to be a little different because this is meant for multiple conditions, right? So the first input itself is not the condition checking column. Instead, they would take the numerical column, which column you want to add, which column you want to take the average, which column you want to find the highest, which column you want to find out the lowest. So they would take the numerical column first, and then you can feed how many other conditions you wanted. So the numerical column involved in our case is the bill amount. So that's what the word sum range means. Range is column. So summing column. So which column values you want to sum it up? So I want to sum up the bill amount. So we're going to select that. And once we selected it, I'm going to press F4 to make it constant, comma. Now comes the word criteria range. Criteria means condition, range means column. So condition column 1. Remember why the number 1 is coming, which was not there earlier, because it was just one condition in the earlier formula, but this is for multiple. So they are asking you which is the first column involved in your condition. So the first column involved in the condition was salesperson column. So I want to select the salesperson column and make it absolute, comma. And in salesperson column, it's asking criteria 1. In salesperson column, what is the condition you want to check? Obviously this salesperson, yeah, comma. Then criteria range 2, condition column 2, which is the next column involved in the condition, the product column. So let's go ahead and select the product column, and I'm going to make it constant, comma, and it's asking which is the condition I want to check in the product column, because you can see the word criteria 2. So this is the product chips is the one which I want to go and search over there. So guys, watch it. First input is the column which contains the values to be added. Then the flow of the formula is give me the column and what is the condition in the column. So column, condition. So if you see the one, salesperson column and salesperson, then product column, then product. So that's the flow of the formula. As you can see at the bottom, it says criteria range 3, criteria 3. So I can keep going and checking even for territory also if needed. But I'm going to stop over here. I'm going to close it. I'm going to drag this formula, but when I'm going to drag it, I'm going to make this I-17 also constant. Now, if you guys are quite new to this dollar sign, please watch my video number 4 to understand what's the role of these dollar symbols in the formulas. Here, I want to make sure this is fixed only by the column. And here also, I can make sure this is fixed only by the row. Now, I can simply copy and paste, and that's gonna do it for rest. Now here, if you see the formula, we've done this. So this references, I made it constant. There is no changes gonna happen. But for these guys, I made the H constant because my salesperson names are kept in H18, H19, H20. H is constant. I made the 17 constant because the products are kept in I-17, J-17, K-17. So 17th row, 17 is constant. That's why we made it. Why did I do that? Because I simply want to, I can go ahead and write average ifs here. But once you learn SUMIFS, rest of the things are all exactly the same. Only the words are going to be different. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this formula, paste it up to MINIFS, because for COUNTIFS, remember, there is not numerical columns involved, so I cannot paste it over here. But for this 3, I'm going to do it. All I'm going to do for this column in my formula, what I'm going to do is, why don't you replace this word SUMIFS with the word AVERAGEIFS? And I want to say, please look in the formulas also for these words while you replace it. So when I say replace all, it's already done. If you watch my formula, it has written the AVERAGEIFS. Instead of me sitting and writing it, I've just saved the time to get this job done so that I don't have to sit and write it. Anyway, these green dots have come in because there's no consistency when I copied and pasted. This is containing a different column, sorry, different formula. This is containing different formula. So I don't have to worry about it. I'm going to simply ignore this error, but I got the work done. Likewise, what I'm going to do, I'm going to select this. I'm going to press Control H. Now, instead of SUMIFS, I want this to be changed to MAXIFS and say replace all, and that is done. So I'm going to select the next one, and instead of MAXIFS, I'm going to rename this to MINIFS, and that is going to do the job for me as well. Done. So look at the way we have done that quite easily without any problem. Otherwise, we have to sit and write. There's no wrong in sitting and writing it, but we are in video number 11, so I expect you to have that kind of expertise by this time. So even if you are sitting and writing it, there's no issues in it. But let's quickly understand the nuances of the formula. The first input for the AVERAGEIFS is average range. So again, it's asking which is a numerical column for which you want to calculate the average. Obviously, in my case, is the bill amount. Rest is all the column where I have to check my condition, what is the condition you want to check in that column, column where I have to check my condition and what is the condition you want to check in that column. Same goes for the MAXIFS, in which column you want to find out the maximum, the highest one, and rest is all the column and condition flow. For MINIFS also the same way. So that means even this one can be handled with the same MAXIFS and MINIFS as well. Yeah. So let's see, how do we do this? MAXIFS for a single condition, how do I do it? So select the bill amount, that's a max range, comma, then I want to check the salesperson column, that's the column, comma, then I want to go ahead and say what's the criteria for it, and this is the criteria which I want to check it, close the braces, and that completes my formula. So what I have to do, just put the dollar symbols to make the references absolute. Make sure you don't mess just like what I did right now. But please be very careful while you put the dollar sign. It's in the right places. You can simply drag it down or double click to populate it. Remember, you can do the same thing with MINIFS as well. The column to calculate the minimum, I'm going to make it constant, comma. The next column that I want to check is the salesperson column. Select it, make it constant, comma. What's the criteria on the salesperson column? This is the criteria. Close it and double click, and that's gonna fill in for this. So these two columns, I'm gonna make it as a currency format because they are monetary values. So as you can see right now, we got it. So let's put these guys into the currency. Okay, so last, to finish up this video with the COUNTIFs, so let's go ahead and say COUNTIFs. We want to know how many transactions happened for the milkshakes for the salesperson 1. So the criteria column, what's this criteria column? No sum range, no max range, no min range, no average range. Directly condition checking column because criteria range. So the first range where we have to check the criteria is salesperson, we're going to make it constant, comma, the condition which I want to check is a salesperson. So I want to make sure the column is constant, comma. The next column where I want to check the condition is a product. Let's go ahead and check the column, product column. I want to make it constant, comma. Then I want to select product. I want to make sure the row is constant there. Close the braces, hit the enter, and that gives us the number of transactions for each person for that particular product, guys. Now, you can see how these formulas are very powerful. Let me show you finally the most interesting part. You have done this. Let's say you are seeing the total sales done by the salesperson 1 for the products chips, correct? Now, if you want to see it for ice creams, all you got to do is just change the product here. Since you have taken the criteria from the cell, it shows you automatically for that particular product. If I want to see it for the juices, I can see it for the juices. So it's if I want to see it for the biscuits, I can see it for the biscuits. Why am I discussing about this is, suppose if you have connected this to a chart, that's where the most interesting part is. So in the coming up videos, we will talk about the charts, and you can see this is presenting. Let's get rid of this and bring this chart. Okay, so this is presenting for the biscuits. So I'm going to just quickly do some things to make this really interesting for us. So we are seeing the performance for the biscuits right now. But when I want to see it for ice creams, all I have to do here is just change this to ice creams. And you can see the chart automatically changes. Yeah. So you can see how these values are shifting based on the criteria changes. Watch it. That's the beauty of these guys, these formulas, what you have learned, my friend. Yeah. So we can use these formulas even in dashboard creations, such a powerful formula. So do practice what you have learned from this video and gain the confidence by attending the quiz as well. If you have any queries, feel free to post that in the comment section. I'll be happy to respond to it. So we'll meet again in another video with an interesting input from my side. Until then, take care of yourself. Signing off, Hariharan.